It was beautiful to watch, after 7 months of frustration, in the past day the growing rage within the Conservative Party about the blatant bias of the Boris Bashing Corporation bubbled over live on air. At 10:07 a.m. during an interview outside Parliament, the BBC News presenter Geeta Guru Murthy was reeling off the broadcaster's usual list of ad hominem attacks on Boris Johnson. This apparently impartial presenter paid for by our licence fee stated as fact H is a man who's lied to the Queen, who's lied to the House of Commons, lied to the public. But the outspoken Red Wall MP Lee Anderson had enough, dropping a truth bomb you'd usually never hear uttered on the Beeb. He raged, "I'll tell you what people see, a witch hunt. Led by the BBC, led by the Labour Party, and the mainstream media." As he was shouted down by Guru Murthy assuring him there is no witch hunt, Lee wasn't having any of it. "Listen to me," he demanded, "there is a witch hunt. My inbox is full of people complaining about the BBC all the time, saying it should be defunded. There is a massive witch hunt. You're not going to let this drop, are you? You're going to go on and on and on." It came just hours after fellow Tory MP Adam Holloway accused BBC Two's far-left Newsnight of making Boris Johnson look like Hannibal Lecter in a graphic, claiming such stunts should do great damage to organisations like the BBC. He said angrily, "This programme that I'm on now was showing pictures of him looking like Hannibal Lecter at the beginning." "Oh come on," the presenter Mark Urban challenged, but Adam had brought the receipts, producing the graphic the programme had run a few minutes earlier on his iPad showing Boris looking deranged in a pose that should be reserved for posters promoting horror movies. "Look at that," the MP demanded, "you've got razor blades. Does that guy look like somebody who's been given a birthday cake or someone who's just been locked up for something at the Old Bailey? This thing has been totally blown out of proportion. I've been saying for months the Beeb's total lack of perspective over Partygate is partisan. I was just as angry as anyone about the breaches of the ludicrous lockdown laws at Downing Street and believe it proves the rules inflicted on all of us were inhumane and nonsensical, but there has been no perspective surrounding the scandal, and it stinks." BBC News, supported by its lefty cronies at Channel 4 News, ITV News and Sly News, have been determined to ensure the downfall of Boris becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So they've talked about it incessantly, every day, turning the most minor development into an apparent scandal. "I'm sick of it and angry about it because it's a ridiculous Westminster psychodrama damning the country to paralysis." Is Boris perfect? Absolutely not. We knew that when we voted for him, he was elected in a landslide in 2019 and then delivered Brexit in a way Theresa May never could. And, while I was vigorously opposed to his 2 years of damaging lockdowns, he abolished all COVID restrictions faster than any equivalent democracy in the Western world. What's unfortunate is that this non-stop media campaign has derailed his agenda, resulting in a rudderless government lacking conservative values in a bid to appeal to the media and political class. But it will never work. The hatred of Boris is so deep-rooted because he is the man who destroyed their beloved European Union project. Take the increasingly irrational Alistair Campbell, who yesterday was given the platform by Kay Burley on Sly News to tell the Conservative Party they should stop taking whatever drugs they're taking and wake up. When she warned him they could face legal action for such a comment, he decided to move his smear campaign to the cesspit that is Twitter. Tony Blair's dishonest former spin doctor tweeted, "If there's a number 10 briefing today and the briefer is not asked directly whether Johnson had taken any narcotics ahead of his interview with Sky News last night, it'll be further evidence of a soft media in the face of a hack PM." Given his demeanor, it is a legitimate question, a reminder that cocaine is a Class A drug and maximum sentence for possession is 7 years, incidentally maximum sentence for misconduct in public office is life. I can state categorically that on no occasion in TB's 10 years did I see any evidence whatever of drug taking in number 10. Soft or hard, I wonder wherever everyone who has worked there since 2019 can hand on heart, or even better hand on Bible, say the same. I always find it odd when the mastermind behind the dodgy Iraq war dossier asks us to believe a word he says, especially when it comes to yet another wild theory backed up by zero evidence. The fact he is given an almost open invitation by the country's biggest broadcasters to spout such nonsense is proof of how corrupt TV news in this country has become. That sort of hysteria isn't isolated, by the way, the Observer columnist Nick Cohen tweeted on Friday after Boris received a smattering of booze while arriving at St. Paul's Cathedral for the Queen's Thanksgiving service that it was Johnson's Ceausescu moment. That's right, the same Ceausescu who oversaw vicious human rights abuses and censorship as the General Secretary of the Romanian Communist Party, before being executed by his own army for committing genocide in 1989. What's Boris' crime? Being presented a cake and scoffing on a few miserable-looking MS sandwiches on his birthday in 2020 between meetings. I feel once trusted British news broadcasters, including the publicly funded BBC, have now become activist players, part of a highly personalised campaign to overthrow democracy and depose a prime minister. Perhaps we shouldn't be surprised. These were the same broadcasters, after all, who worked with the establishment, the Blob and every opposition party to do all they could to overthrow Brexit, the biggest democratic mandate in British history. I had the Tees Valley Mayor Ben Houchen, a major Boris backer who believes the Red Wall will be lost if he goes, on my GB News show last night after the vote, and he said the PM was still mobbed on a recent visit to his area. Boris still has that draw as a politician that no other politician has, Houchen explained, and that's why, despite the unrelenting pressure from the media, the Tory party must think hard before entering into a brutal civil war to get rid of Boris that I'm convinced will almost certainly result in a dreaded Labour, Lib Dem, SNP, Green coalition government from hell. Houchen added, the Conservative Party often becomes its own opposition, and that's what sadly we're seeing today. I think we're unfortunately going to see more of that as various people who have their own agenda within the party want to try and pull it apart. The Tories should ignore what the BBC wants it to do and spend the next year backing Boris and focusing on turning around the devastating cost of living crisis. The UK must not become some sort of banana republic where the media and the establishment determine who is Prime Minister over the will of the people. You can already tell the globalist with an authoritarian streak, Jeremy Hunt, who wanted Brits dragged from their homes and locked in government-run facilities if they tested positive for COVID, is their favourite to replace Boris. Well, to hell with that. Boris has much to do if he wants another term. He must return to being truly conservative by reversing his damaging tax cuts for one, axe the green levies, and slow the damaging march to net zero. But he deserves to be given the chance, which will only happen if the Tories block out the noise from the BBC and have a single-minded focus on delivery.